And then there's also consumer decision rules that can help you evaluate your alternatives. For instance, these are different sets of cereals, and when you were going to go and pick, there's obviously a cereal that is a little bit healthier than others, and consumer decision rules are a set of criteria that consumers use consciously or subconsciously to quickly and efficiently select among several alternatives. And sometimes you may use a compensatory decision rule, which assumes that consumers, when evaluating alternatives, consider trade-offs of characteristics. For example, Cheerios is yummy, maybe it's not the healthiest, but it helps lower cholesterol. So that could be a compensatory decision rule. Like, yes, it's not the healthiest, but it has a good attribute. And sometimes consumers use non-compensatory decision rules in which they choose a product or service on the basis of one characteristic or subset of characteristics regarding the values of its other attributes. Retailers use the conversion rate to measure how well they convert purchase intentions into actual purchase. And this tends to be done more online, but when we say conversion, we mean the purchase. So conversion is really the main goal for a lot of advertising, a lot of the way websites are designed. So as a way to increase conversion rate, marketers will consider what's happening in the funnel, that people are leaving the virtual carts and like without checking out, or actual supermarket carts, what's happening at that point. The consumers may not be purchasing something, so they can try to fix it. They'll consider the merchandise in stock and reduce the actual wait time for purchase. So have you ever been at the Marshalls line or Home Goods line where it becomes so big and you have just a couple of things, but they are taking so long that you just decide to leave the product right then and there and just walk out of the store because it's just not worth the time? Well, other companies try to reduce the time that you have to wait so that you can make the purchase. And then there's post-purchase customer satisfaction. This is after you make the purchase. These are the things that are considered in consumer behavior that are not necessarily considered in just the definition of marketing, which is our whole class. So that's why there's a whole class dedicated to this subject. But post-purchase customer satisfaction is very, very important because you want your customers to be happy with your product, because you want them to be recommending your product. You want them to write a good review, which means that you'll have other conversions, other people buying your product. So you have to build this customer satisfaction, and companies can do this in many different ways. So you can build realistic expectations. So don't advertise your product to be this amazing thing, because then consumers might be disappointed. So you have to be careful in your advertising and your product descriptions. And you have to also demonstrate the correct product use if it's a new product that people aren't very familiar with. So that's important. All products, even if they're the most familiar with, they have instructions. You provide money-back guarantees when it's applicable, or return policies. You encourage feedback, and that's why a lot of products or you get an email like, oh, do you like it? Write a review. Our customer contact, sometimes they'll even make a call, and this is something particularly important with services. When you go to the doctors, they usually call you a couple of days later just to see how you're doing, and this is a way to kind of increase also your customer satisfaction. Post-purchase cognitive dissonance is when you have buyer's remorse, and it's a real thing. Consumers might be feeling psychologically uncomfortable because of inconsistent beliefs that in turn evokes a motivation to reduce the dissonance. So how do they reduce dissonance? Maybe they return something. So how do firms attempt to reduce this dissonance? They use thank you letters, congratulation letters or emails, quality ratings, points for your purchase, like loyalty points that can help you, if you accrue enough to take some a percentage of your next purchase. These are some ways to fight cognitive dissonance. And for purchases that are really big, like a house, sometimes there's like a 24-hour rule where like if you change your mind, you can return it within 24 hours or cancel the contract. And then After purchase, something that's really important is customer loyalty, and Starbucks is a great example for this because consumers tend to have such a great loyalty to this brand. Some consumers get Starbucks every day, and loyal customers will buy only certain brands and shop at certain stores. So if you're, for instance, loyal to Starbucks, Starbucks gets the benefit that every time you want coffee, you're going to go to them and not to another competitor like Peet's or whatever. And also, this just means that one client is just going to keep buying your product over and over. And it's the idea that satisfied customers purchase and buy from the same company again. Post-purchase, undesired consumer behavior, definitely negative word of mouth, which can be done on social media as well. Poor reviews, rumors, these are all things that can be really, really bad for your brand. Factors that influence consumer decision process, you have the marketing mix, which we all are very familiar with, product, price, place, and promotion. You have psychological factors that include your motives, attitudes, perceptions about things, learning, and lifestyle. You have situational factors, which happen at the point of purchase. So it may be your mood, your temporal state at that time, your purchase situation. Is it online? Is it in the store? Shopping situation. Some stores really try hard to make your store feel so nice so that you want to stay there longer. And then social factors. What is your reference group going to think about the purchase that you made? You do take into consideration your family, your friends, and culture when making purchase decisions for some things, even for maybe even apparel, shoes, whatever it is. Using Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we tend to associate that into purchases as well, because all of the needs that we have kind of fulfill a certain purchase. When we buy food, when we buy water, when we buy our homes or rent a place, we're fulfilling a physiological need for these basic needs that we have. Then when we want to appeal to our safety and protection needs or our physical being, we might buy certain things that protect us. Maybe a guard dog, maybe a security system. To fulfill love and interaction with others, we also have to fulfill this. So an example of this would be apps, maybe like Tinder, or just going to a restaurant or going to the movies on a date. Those are services that allow you to fulfill this need of love. And then, and it's not just love, this is also friendship, like social connections. It's a social need that we have that comes after we ensure that our physical and our safety needs are met. So now we want to focus on our connections. And then after we fulfill that, we have our esteem and inner desires. So what is it that we want? What are we interested in? Maybe it's like a yoga class or something. And then we have our self-actualization or personal growth fulfillment. So our goals, getting good grades, getting an education will fulfill into the top one. One last thing to consider is your level of involvement on your consumer buying decisions. So even let's consider just the message in an advertisement. If you're highly involved in the advertisement because it's relevant to you, you pay greater attention, deeper processing. And that actually leads to strong attitudes and purchase intentions for that product advertised. If you have low involvement, you're not likely to be very interested in this advertisement or what they're advertising, and you pay less attention and you have peripheral processing. This would lead to outcomes like weak attitudes for that product advertised. If you ever watch television, you would see a bunch of different ads that were just highly irrelevant to you. And I'm sure you still see ads irrelevant to you on social media or other platforms. But because of personalized advertisement, where they are able to use some of our information to know what to recommend to us, advertisements have become a lot better and more targeted, so consumers will have higher involvement when it comes to paying attention to these products, which is why sometimes while it can be very creepy and off-putting to see something that we had just talked about on social media, sometimes the recommendations that they send us are quite interesting, and you do actually swipe up and explore what the product is about. So that's something that has greatly improved to everyone's satisfaction and paranoia. That concludes the session for today. If you look at the PowerPoints, you will see a little bit more details on the slides, but I basically went over everything that we need to go over for this chapter. Thank you.